Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity.
What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about how good Trees aka Mirumok Ruins is for grinding. Now, Trees has some of the best XP and money in the entire game. If you start grinding Trees at level 58 and do that consistently for a week straight, you will hit 61 in literally 3 to 4 days, if not sooner, depending on the buffs that are available to you as well as the group that you grind with. As for money, you can expect to make roughly around 57 million up to 70 million depending on your clear speed, and also I guess just the I don't know if like buffs work here. Like, people have told me item scrolls do work here, but then I've also heard they don't. It's a very confusing process. I have popped a loot scroll here every single time and I seem to get a good bit of trash loot, and I've also not popped a loot scroll before and it feels, I don't know, the groups that I run with vary so much that it's kind of hard to tell what exactly I'm getting, but on most days when I'm grinding with the same group, I average about 3.3k trash, so that's pretty damn good. Ideally, you want a 3-man for money and a 5-man for XP, but 5-mans can be annoying to find and also manage, so typically I just roll with a 3-man heavy hitter squad and it goes pretty smooth, and most of the time it also goes 5 times faster than a 5-man, so I don't know, it's kind of up to you and what you want to do, but if you can get a good 5-man for an XP run, it can turn out pretty damn good, and if you manage it properly, you can do multiple rotations and still not lose any trash loot, so it's kind of up in the air if you want to run a 5-man, but I never really do. Now, the main reason you want to do Trees is for the trash loot. It's essentially worth 17,500 and you can expect to make roughly around 3.3k trash with the lesser group with lower AP brackets, or you can make up to 4 to 5k with heavy hitters. Going to Trees at about 261 AP is probably the most realistic AP bracket you want to just go with, just due to the overall efficiency and speed you will be moving at. Most of the time you will be at Trees for about 2 hours and no less, and this is due to people always using the church buffs and cron meals and tent buffs and so on, which these buffs last about 2 hours, so nobody wants to waste these buffs ever. So most of the time you're going to always be going for 2 hours straight, so there's not really a money per hour, it's more like money every 2 hours, even though you can still make money per hour, I guess, if you're grinding solo, but typically, like I said, you're wasting buffs if you only go for an hour. The faster you clear the trees, the more money you're going to make per these 2 hours. Now, that's of course up to you on how fast you clear. That's not to say you can't solo trees at lower AP brackets like 235, but you have to keep your expectations in check when you're soloing. For me, I can clear a tree by myself, but it's incredibly difficult, and I can 1000% make more money at a different spot where my clear speed is faster. At Schultz Guard, I can make up to 50 to 80 million within 2 hours if I can get a spot uninterrupted. However, at Trees, I can only make roughly around 17 million to 35 million if I'm super sweaty for a straight 2 hours, which is pretty fucking ass to be sweaty for that long. But the XP on the other hand is something to probably look at in more of a valuable sense. For 2 hours, I can expect at least 1%, probably under that, but that's just, I pop a lot of buffs whenever I go to Trees, so I typically expect 1% by myself, and with a group, it can be anywhere between 4% to 8% depending on my group's clear speed at level 61. I want to emphasize that 61, it's pretty slow, of course. Everyone's like, oh my god, only 4%, well, like, you know, when I was 56, I was getting XP like crazy. Listen, 61 is the big boy number, okay? Once you hit 60, you're in the big leagues, all right? You are now at a snail's escargot pace ass bit slow, all right? You're moving at the speed of fucking mayonnaise. Don't even at me right now. I don't want to hear it, all right? It's super fucking slow. I imagine at 62, it's so slow, it doesn't even fucking matter where you grind until we get newer content. So now that we understand that Trees has good money and XP, let's discuss how to properly and effectively handle Trees and do the spot with ease. Normally, I don't do tutorials on how to farm spots because it's, you know, basically self-fucking explanatory, but Trees is a special case. At Trees, I tend to pull a lot of randoms, and I get the ones that always struggle with movement and how to properly kill the mob. And the first rule of Trees is to stay moving and watch the red circles on the fucking ground. To further clarify, whenever I say stay moving, I don't mean stay away from the mobs and move further away or get farther from the mobs, I mean stay moving within the vicinity of the mobs. I see this all the time with my groups, and people tend to get hit or take a lot of damage and they immediately pull out of the fight or go super far from the mobs, and this makes the mobs split in numbers and makes it harder for your other party members to AoE the mobs to death. Remember, trees is all about AoE and not single target damage. The only thing you're going to ever be single targetly damaging, that is the old Mirumok, which is the giant fuckhead that just beats you down with a little fucking bat. The easiest way for you to stand in the mobs is with Ubugans and just the fat DR it gives you. You can technically do trees with something like Akun boots or something, but I gotta be honest, just invest in the Uwus and you will thank me later for it, to be completely honest. Anyway, once you get the hang of moving within the mobs, now all you gotta do is watch the big red circles that are under your feet. These are definitely going to be the #1 things that you are going to die from. If you have Uwugans, 2 or 3 of these are basically death. You cannot stand or get hit by these back to back more than 2 times because you will legitimately die. And as I mentioned, this is with Uragons. So if you don't have Uragons with that huge DR boost, you are going to take an immense amount of damage even more. So you're gonna have to really pay attention if you don't have Uwus. After that, your main focus is the tall old Mirumok trees, and this is the main thing you're going to be focusing right off the bat. You really just want these dead as soon as possible. They can do heavy knockbacks and provide a lot of damage and openings for the mobs to do damage to you, so these are super important for clearing right away. Once he's dead, it's time for you to group up with your other party members and stack up on each other, and then just AoE the rest of the mobs until there's nothing left. Classes like Musa, Witch, Wizard, Zerkers excel heavily in providing fat AoEs and mowing down these mobs with super just ease. And that's basically how to properly do trees. All you gotta do is don't stand in the red shit, stack up on your party members when old Mirumok is dead, and bop it a boopy, the trees are gonna start knocking over and you're gonna be able to get trash loot immensely. So now that you probably know how to do trees after that explanation, let's talk about the cons to trees, because there's a few that really just ruin the spot for me. First issue is the heavy lag 24/7. Trees unfortunately has probably the worst area FPS in Black Desert, and every time I come here I get incredible FPS drop and the lag spikes, it's so bad to the point where the game just looks like a slideshow. Most of the time, to avoid this, if I'm getting ready to run a tree group, I'll hard reset my Xbox in the advanced network settings, and this will eliminate some of the lag, but it's still pretty fucking trash. On top of that, trees is heavily contested 24/7, which means there's never going to be an open spot. I mean, you might come across some, late at night or whatever in certain servers, but during the day, it is constantly just being ran all the time, and there's just every single server is typically full. Now, with that being said, you're always going to either have to fight for a spot or wait for someone to be done, or try and 1v1 for the spot. This is pretty common, and I mentioned this in my Schultz video, where people will most of the time 1v1 for a spot, and some groups will honor that 1v1, or they'll just grief you or ignore you or grind over you, so on and so on. It's kind of up in the air, but that's like sort of the etiquette to trees when it comes to wanting a spot. But as we all know, this is Black Desert and nobody can properly hold an L in this fucking game, so whenever someone starts losing, they're going to grief you and they're just going to prevent you from grinding, and you're going to end up doing more PvPing than grinding. So it's just a huge waste of fucking time and your buffs, and it's just trash. These two reasons right here are enough to turn me off to the spot and for me to never just want to come here. But unfortunately, the spot is just so damn good and you can't necessarily avoid it. If you want to hit 62 or get some good money, trees is a top tier spot and ignoring it is fucking awful and stupid. So the decision is going to be up to you, whether you want to try and attempt to solo it, or if you want to come here by yourself and with a group, whatever. 261 is going to be the bracket where soloing is more effective and the money per hour is going to actually be pretty damn good. But with a group, you're probably better off at lower AP brackets. Just the clear speed is so fucking nice and the money per hour or per couple hours is really good. So group for lower AP, and people with high AP, solo is probably your best bet. Even with a group and high AP, the faster you clear, the more money you make. So regardless, the group is always going to be the better option. But I think we've covered basically everything, and there's not really much else to say about trees other than, yeah, it's worth grinding. It's fucking great, and it sucks that it's heavily contested all the time and there's not really any other hard XP places out there other than maybe Gyfins, which I haven't been to Gyfins yet, so maybe we'll see where that goes at some point. But that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.